My name is Chris Markey. I'm a lifelong East Boston resident, practically a lifelong airport activist, an environmental activist here. This neighborhood was a multi-generational ethnic neighborhood before the airport was built. When the airport impact began to become evident, people who have invested their lives in this place had to respond to the impacts of the airport. When your quality of life is being decimated, it's natural for people, at least here, to think that they ought to have some say in that. By 2019, Massport, the Massachusetts Port Authority, which is the agency that owns and operates Logan International Airport, had reported that Logan's air carriers and operations at the airport are producing over 35,000 pounds of EPA criteria pollutants every day. The folks at Massport also reported that the airport developed 810,000 metric tons of CO2, greenhouse gases. So what we've got since the beginning, where it was just a small airfield, to now where it's a major international airport, is a monstrosity which is polluting recklessly and without accountability. As far as compensation is concerned for the negative environmental impacts, we call that mitigation. The last bit of the most important mitigation was a parks system, which was collaboratively envisioned by community activists working with the airport and airport consultants and airport staff members. Those parks are called edge buffer parks, and the idea is that you'd form a ring around the airport of parks, sometimes as narrow as 20 feet. Those parks turned out to be an integral part of the East Boston Greenway when connected with this park, which was Central Artery mitigation. The story of the Bremen Street Park is just awesome. This space used to be probably 20 railroad tracks connecting the waterfront to the Grand Trunk Railroad. When I was a young kid, this was just parking for the airport, extra airport parking. Just south of here in the East Boston Greenway was an abandoned place with cars dumped in it, weeds, homeless people living in it, and that extended all the way to the water to where you got fences with derelict waterfront space. And then as a result of the airport activists pushing, we started to see possibilities of developing open space. It's not just like compensation, it's giving people in the neighborhood something nice. At the same time, cities are becoming more and more popular. It's just a trend across the world. That's where economic advantage begins to take over the story. And suddenly, each parcel on the waterfront is springing up 200-unit buildings, $5,000 rents. They don't build these things for workforce housing. Everybody's only building what they call luxury condominiums. But if you walk around the neighborhood and you look for doorbells and you look down at windows on the basement, you see that these are occupied properties in the floodplain. While we're building resilient structures on the waterfront, which will be enjoyed by people who can spend $5,000 a month, but at the same time, we're not even able to consider the existence, we don't even recognize the existence of all those people living in basement units. The parks that we've worked so hard for to improve the lives of the people who live here are not being enjoyed, therefore, necessarily by the people who can no longer live here, and they have to move out. And yeah, those parks are always on the pictures. You know, when they sell the luxury condo, they say it's just steps from the Greenway. You might think that you're banging your head against a wall, and it's true, you are. It takes a certain personality to keep on trying to work for something that you make so little progress at. But you do make progress from time to time. And one of the ways that we've made amazing progress here is at nurturing collaboration in the community. There's a beautiful Eastie Farm. I mean, that's like a rebirth of everything that's good. There's Harborkeepers doing cleanups and education on the waterfront. There's Tree Eastie pushing to plant street trees to restore our tree canopy, which was the city's lowest. You have the fact that the Latino community is increasingly adversely impacted by displacement. And then there's groups like Green Roots who support that activism and also teach an interface between environment and the Latino community. But what's fascinating is the persistence of the concept of injustice, that in 1933 they couldn't stop a highway from getting built, a tunnel from taking their homes. Then the airport expanded and took homes. And now we've got the waterfront with the luxury housing. We're not learning over here. And that's the thing that I find most troubling, is we're just not learning how to stop making low-income people pay for progress.